Welcome back to 10-Minute Prophecy, where we go through the prophecies of Daniel and Revelation verse by verse in bite-sized chunks. Thank you for joining us again. We hope that this journey through Bible prophecy has been enlightening, whether you are new to prophecy or have studied prophecy in the past. As always, if you haven't seen the previous presentations, please watch them as each prophecy builds on each other. The link to our playlist is down in the description below. You will also find the video on the non-denominational Protestant biblical prophetic interpretation method that has proven itself over and over again in world events both past, present, and can be relied upon to understand the future. See the link in the description below. Here in Revelation 13, the prophecy is opened with startling imagery. Verses 1 to 2 state, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat, and great authority." Here John is taken to the sand of the sea, where he sees a beast rising out of the water. In Bible prophecy, a beast represents a kingdom or world power, as clearly defined in Daniel chapter 7, verses 17 and 23. The imagery of 7 heads and 10 horns, first introduced in Revelation chapter 12, is repeated here. We will discuss the meaning of the heads in verse 3. When prophetic symbols are repeated, we must pay close attention. In Revelation chapter 12, the dragon, a dual symbol, symbolizing Satan and the pagan Roman Empire, here we see that it symbolizes both a dark spiritual power, Satan, and a kingdom of the earth, Rome, which he works through. Now, in Revelation chapter 13, the symbol now continues to represent a kingdom of the earth, but the body of the beast changes, signaling a transition of the same power, pagan Rome, to a new power. Pagan Rome, known for its imperial rule, is symbolized by the dragon. Historical evidence even shows that Rome honored dragon imagery alongside its eagles, still visible in Rome if you look at the architecture today. This new beast, however, rises from the sea, a symbol for multitudes, nations, peoples, and tongues, as explained in Revelation chapter 17, verse 15. This means the power represented by this beast emerges from a densely populated, diverse region of the world. It arises out of its predecessor, pagan Rome, carrying over its power and structure, but evolving into something new. That new power is symbolized by the unique body of the new beast. It is composed of elements from 3 distinct beasts seen in Daniel chapter 7, a lion, symbolizing Babylon, a bear, representing Medo-Persia, and a leopard, standing for Greece. This composite form reveals that this new power inherits elements from all the previous pagan empires, blending their religious, cultural, and political systems into its foundation. So who is this kingdom that rises after the dragon power, pagan Rome, with a transformed body and global influence? It is none other than papal Rome. The transition is striking. The dragon, pagan Rome, as the Bible says, gives this beast his power. This is military power. His seat, this is civil authority, and great authority. This represents religious power. Does papal Rome fit this prophetic picture? Absolutely. When we look at history, we see after the fall of pagan Rome, papal Rome rose with combined military, civil and religious authority, supported by the very nation that once was a great world empire. Now, the Bible describes the spiritual nature of the papacy through the symbolic use of animals from Daniel 7. This points to the religious practices that forms the base of the religious system adopted by the papacy from Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and of course Rome. You will see that Jesus reveals with precision the foundation of this anti-Christian and anti-scriptural religious system. We will investigate this now. From Babylon, which is represented by the mouth of the lion, we see these Babylonian religious practices adopted into Roman Catholicism. First is the worship of a mother-child deity. Central to Babylonian worship was the mother goddess Semiramis and her divine child Tammuz. This pair became a prototype for mother and child devotion in pagan cultures, even after the fall of Babylon. In Catholicism, we see the veneration of Mary as the Mother of God, or Theotokos, and widespread iconography of Mary and baby Jesus closely resembles this ancient pattern. While Mary and Jesus are biblical figures, the exalted quasi-divine status of Mary, like as co-mediatrix or Queen of Heaven, in Catholic theology reflects Babylonian-style goddess worship. Secondly, we see the Babylonian priestly hierarchy and vestments. In Babylon, a highly organized priesthood conducted rituals and claimed divine authority. The high priest wore elaborate robes and headgear, notably the mitre, a fish-shaped hat linked to the god Dagon. In Catholicism, the Church adopted a structured hierarchy of priests, bishops, cardinals, and the Pope, along with ceremonial vestments that have remarkable parallels to Babylonian priestly attire, including the papal mitre, which follows the fish-shaped hat of Dagon. Thirdly, we see Babylonian use of images, relics, and ritual objects. Babylonians used idols, relics, and sacred images in temples for veneration and ritual worship. The Papal Church integrated the use of statues, icons, relics of saints, and ritual items like incense, holy water, and candles, despite Christian opposition to these practices because they recognized the pagan origins. This shift toward tangible worship elements reflects a Babylonian and broader pagan model of religiosity. Fourth, we see Babylonian sun worship and Sunday sacredness. Central to Babylonian worship was the sun god Shamash. Sunday sacredness, the day of the sun, was associated with his worship. The papal change from Sabbath, which is Saturday, to Sunday, as the main day of worship, was solidified under the authority of the Roman Church, even though early Christians continued to keep the Saturday Sabbath. This Sunday sacredness aligns with ancient sun worship traditions of Babylon and not the Bible. Fifth, we see the Babylonian mystery religion structure. In Babylonian religious structure, we see secret rites, initiations, and a special knowledge only for the initiated. In Catholic tradition, we see the sacramental system, with its stages like baptism, confirmation, Eucharist, and so on. Plus, Latin liturgies kept from the laity for centuries mirror the elitist mystical access seen in Babylonian cults. All right, let's delve into the sixth point, which is the Babylonian titles and claims of divinity. In the Babylonian religion, Babylonian kings and priests often claimed divine status or divine appointment. It's interesting to note that titles such as Pontifex Maximus were used by Roman emperors, which Rome had absorbed Babylonian-style religious authority. This was then taken up by Papal Rome, with the Pope adopting the same titles like Pontifex Maximus and making new titles like Vicar of Christ and even Holy Father, of which all are in continued use today. It is interesting to note that Vicar of Christ means in place of Christ, and in the Greek it is literally Antichristo, or in English Antichrist. This reflects the blending of political and divine authority that we see in both Babylon and Rome. Now, from Medo-Persia, which is the feet of the bear, we see these practices adopted into the papal system from the Zoroastrian religion. Now, it's quite fascinating how these traditions and titles have traveled and transformed through different empires and religions, isn't it? First, in Zoroastrianism, we see a priesthood and mediation system. Zoroastrianism had an elite priestly caste known as the Magi, who were responsible for interpreting divine will, offering sacrifices, and mediating between humans and the divine. The Roman Catholic Church adopted a strong hierarchical priesthood where priests, and especially the Pope, act as intermediaries between God and man, a role parallel to the Magi. Second, in Zoroastrianism, we see sacred fire and ritual symbolism. The everlasting fire in the temples was central to Zoroastrian worship as a symbol of divine presence and purity, and incense was used around the fire. While the Church does not use fire in the same central way, the use of candles, incense and elaborate ritual symbolism in Catholic liturgy carries echoes of ritual purity and divine light associated with Zoroastrian practice. Third, in Zoroastrianism, we see purgatory and the journey after death. Zoroastrianism had a concept of Chinvat bridge, where souls are judged and either proceed to heaven, fall into hell, or pass through a purification process. Catholic theology developed the concept of purgatory, where souls undergo purification before entering heaven. This concept from Zoroastrianism closely mirrors the moral judgment and intermediate state idea present in Persian religion. Fourth, in Zoroastrianism, we see the hierarchical structure of the spiritual realm. Zoroastrianism features a detailed hierarchy of divine beings, like Ameshaspentas and Yazatas, assisting Ahura Mazda. Catholic theology includes a hierarchical angelic order, such as archangels, angels, thrones, dominions, and so on. It also encompasses a structured communion of saints, which functions similarly in the spiritual governance model. From Greece, which is the body of the leopard and denotes the majority of papal theology, we see these religious practices adopted into the papal worship system. First, in the Greek religious system, we see the deification of humans and saints. Greek gods often started as human heroes who were later deified, such as Hercules or Asclepius. This created a pantheon of divine beings who could be appealed to individually. In Catholicism, we see the veneration of saints, especially praying to saints and Mary, reflects this idea of exalted intercessory figures. While not officially called gods, saints are treated as heavenly intermediaries who can hear prayers and perform miracles, very similar to the Greek concept of minor deities. Second, in the Greek religious system, we see a hierarchical pantheon. The gods were organized into a strict divine hierarchy, with Zeus at the top and others below him, each ruling over specific domains. In the Catholic system, we see borrowing of this concept in ecclesiastical hierarchy. The ecclesiastical structure of the Roman Church, pope, cardinals, bishops, priests, reflects this hierarchical model. The Pope, as the supreme head, like Zeus or the father of gods, presides over a tiered system of spiritual authority. Third, in the Greek religious system, is Greek philosophy, or Platonism, and the concept of the immortality of the soul. Plato taught the immortality of the soul, the idea that the soul exists eternally and is naturally indestructible. In the Catholic system, this concept strongly influenced the development of Catholic teachings on the afterlife, heaven, hell, and purgatory, none of which are found in the Bible. The Bible teaches that only God is immortal and only God can give immortality, and that the soul that sinneth, it shall die. But under Greek influence, the Catholic Church adopted the belief that every soul lives forever, whether good or evil. Fourth, in the Greek religious system, you have concepts of hell and eternal torment. The Greek underworld, Hades, was a detailed realm with eternal punishment, known as Tartarus, and blessed fields called Elysium. In the Catholic system, you have the eternal fiery torment of hell, as popularly taught in medieval Catholicism, which closely mirrors Tartarus. This is opposite of the Sheol of the Old Testament, which means grave in the ground. This Greek imagery of eternal burning hell deeply shaped Catholic eschatology, and taken to its conclusion, makes God very cruel, which is what Satan wants people to think. Fifth, in the Greek religious system you have mystery religions and sacramentalism. These Greek cults, like the Eleusinian mysteries, had secret rites, symbolic sacraments, and initiation processes for spiritual enlightenment. Catholicism adopted this, where we see the seven sacraments, especially the Eucharist, and baptism as means of grace, along with rituals and catechism, reflect this mystery religion structure, offering spiritual progression through ceremony. Sixth, in the Greek religious system, you see the divine man concept. Some figures were viewed as divine men or god-men, like Dionysus and Orpheus, capable of bridging heaven and earth. In the papacy, you see the Pope's title Vicar of Christ, which means in place of Christ, and claims of infallibility, especially when speaking ex cathedra. The belief that the Pope is God on earth is encapsulated in Catholic writings and teachings. This reflects a form of divine man ideology, an inherited concept from both Greek and Roman traditions. We hope that you have learned a lot so far in this amazing and fascinating prophecy. This concludes our time together. Thank you for joining us. We hope you have enjoyed this nugget of prophecy. Join us next time, where we will continue Revelation 13. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. We look forward to seeing you again.